Snowy.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Happy Friday and welcome to today's edition of The Week That Was. The last vestige of Deadline Detroit that Allan Lengel is not completely in charge of. So I'm your host, Nancy Derringer, and I am joined by a diminished but still smart and witty panel. We've got to my I guess it's my left, but it's really the other way, is community or public affairs and former Free Press reporter Darci McConnell, labor and community activist Barb, Ingalls, Joel Sklar, who is going to have to carry the weight for our usual troika of lawyers. We're hoping that
heavy load.
It is. It really is. We're hoping that Steve Fishman shows up soon, and of course our illustrious host and ringmaster, Deadline Detroit co-founder Allan Lengel. So once again, even though it had a holiday in it, it was a crazy week, and we have to get right to it. I don't know. Saeed is traveling today, so he generally sends along a list of topics that he thinks we should discuss, which whenever I host, I print out here. And as usual, Saeed being a professor with an international affairs focus, it's full of high-minded international affairs. But today I say we throw it out the window and say, well, how about those Hoosiers? I mean,
incredible.
It's unbelievable. I mean,
it is unbelievable.
Represented.
When I left Indiana 26 years ago, the football team, and it was all about basketball at IU. I mean, everybody, it was the Bobby Knight era was over, but it's still, the legacy lived on. Everybody was into basketball in Indiana, and the football team was like an afterthought. And as I understand from talking to people who pay attention to this stuff, this was the case as recently as 3 years ago. But they have this new coach and now a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, who has like whipped that bunch into shape. And last night they humiliated Alabama, just stomped them into that Rose Bowl dirt and put them in a shallow grave. Yeah. So
they learned how to use NIL money and the transfer portal to get great players quick. So really? They would be one of the worst teams historically.
Yeah.
Theoretically a national championship in a bit. So it's amazing how college football has changed. Yes. Where you can now attract, it's like semi-pro or pro. You could attract players by paying them money, and that's what Indiana started doing. They started getting into the game, getting seasoned players, and here we go.
Well, college sports in general, because, I mean, my Wolverines are just, 100 points every game. That's serious investment.
Return. Are we talking about the basketball team?
Yes, we are talking about
obviously. They're not.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, we were talking about the Cheez-It Bowl losers.
Yeah. I think it was last week, Steve Fishman predicted that they would win a national championship this year. So behind me, you can see my bingo card for 2026, which I'm putting up here. And I have it on here. I have U of M wins national championship. And then I also included Bill's prediction from last week, which was that the GOP would try to nationalize elections. So if you go to bingobaker.com, there's a lot of like bingo card generators on the web. You too can make your own. So I'm going to keep it up here on my bulletin board, and I'm going to mark stuff off. So there you go. So Allan.
I was going to say, in terms of, the college, it's changed the whole dynamics of college with paying these players $3 million. I was a janitor at Wilson Hall at Michigan State to make spending money so I could go to Bell's Pizza and get a grinder or something. That's a sandwich nowadays. It may have a different meaning. But it's interesting. When in my senior year, Adolph Mongo had a high school magazine called Champions, and it was about high school sports. And he called me up one day and he says, "You got to do a story on this guy, Irvin Johnson. They call him Magic. He's amazing. He's a senior at Lansing Everett High School." He says, "Get a hold of him." So I did get a hold of Magic, and he met me at a gas station, a Shell gas station in Lansing. Pulls up in a deuce and a quarter, a Buick 225, which was a big boat. And it's now just out in the open that you can pay these guys. But all these guys, when I was at Michigan State, the football players would pull up in front of Bessie Hall in their Thunderbirds and stuff like that. So the local business people were always kind of taking care of them. But now it's just out in the open, Ishbia, all these people give him money so you can buy the best,
Right, exactly. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, so I am no stranger to this culture of mad, worship of the college team. But I think sometime in the 60s, when Volkswagen Beetles were kind of the default low-cost car for a college student, I think one of the Ohio State players had one that he had striped like the helmets. So it was gray and it had like the red stripe up the middle. It was very cute. Everybody knew who it was. So there you go.
I mean, you have to acknowledge though that the schools make a ton of money off these athletes, and
they do.
It's a fair deal. Yeah. The athletes should have some power. They're labor.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, they're really not. They're students. Most, but most are labor. And they're entitled to the fruits. So
I would like to see more equity in it, just like every player makes whatever 50 grand or whatever. They should all get paid because, as you say, I mean, the money that University of Michigan State generated the football program is amazing. But it's just weird. One kid gets paid $3 million a year, another whatever. I think there should be more equity and just not make money the central part of it. But it keeps some of these guys from going pro.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Bryce Underwood's at Michigan. The state Portnoy forwarded $8 to $10 million to guarantee the NIL. It's crazy. God,
that is just it is, and you're right. I mean, they should be paid, and the one thing I will say about Title IX, and I try to stay out of all sports discussions because I fucking don't know what I'm talking about. But the one thing about Title IX is, that it really did boost those non-revenue sports like women's swimming and all that kind of thing. So, I wish that there was a little more largesse of the money sports largesse distributed among, all the unpopular ones like track and
water polo,
wrestling, even water polo. Yeah. So there we go. But anyway, so thanks to social media and short videos, though, I think we might finally be entering the era when artistic swimming, synchronized swimming finally gets its due, because man, I find those things I cannot tear. I look up and half an hour later and I watch like 35 artistic swimming videos, but they are amazing. And the athleticism and the holding your breath part is just, it blows my mind. So anyway. All right. Okay. So let's move on to the meat of this. I think as reporters, we all know, or the reporters on this panel all know, that one of the oldest tricks in the book is to dump news that nobody, that the dumper doesn't particularly want attention paid to at a time like a Friday afternoon before the weekend or the week between the holidays. And we had a couple of big ones this in the last fortnight, shall we say. More Epstein files came out. And the Wall Street Journal, in fact, did a story about, we've heard Donald Trump's version of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein over and over again. He was like, he kicked him out because he was a creep and blah, blah, blah. But now we learn that apparently Mar-a-Lago staff, which included Virginia I still don't know how to pronounce her name. Is it Jeffrey or something, who was kind of the patient zero of the Epstein victims, would send these girls on house calls to Epstein's house in Palm Beach. It was like 2 miles away, and they would send him there to do massages on site, manicures, whatever. And many of them, and they were warned by the management, watch out, he's going to try something. And many of them came back and reported that indeed he had done exactly that. And yet still, they went on. It went on for years after everybody knew what Jeffrey Epstein was about. So what the hell is going on here? I mean, I guess my question to start the discussion is any of this going to leave a dent in Donald Trump or the Trump administration?
It's hard to, it's just one thing, when I was reading the stories about, or what's coming out of the Epstein files are like beyond what I could have imagined. There's allegations of a 13-year-old girl who was raped, of a baby who was thrown in Lake Michigan. This is in apparently FBI files. I mean, the level, this guy may be not just, in pedophilia, but murder. I mean, and I can believe it. I mean, there's no reason to this. As I see Trump, he's the most
shocking, but not surprising. Is
right. He's the most vile person on the face of the earth. What could the most vile person on the face of the earth do? Anything.
Yeah.
So no, I hope it does. I mean, some of these stories are so incredible and so disturbing that I don't know if people can look away.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't just another story. This stuff is like terrifyingly like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So I'm not so sure this is going to be, I think this may make a dent on some. Certainly independents, I would think, are going to have a dent.
I would hope so.
God only knows some of them are going to have a dent too. I mean, MTG's leaving, Bobert's pissed, Macy apparently. There's something going on.
Yeah. Allan.
There's so much redactions in there. I mean, you go through it and there's just, which is typical of the FBI when you do a freedom of information. I've done it so many times, and they give you whole pages that are just blacked out. We're going to see, I mean, what are the chances of anything really incriminating coming out about Trump specifically? Because it's going to be blacked out. There's no question he's going to tell them, black out anything that involves me. And I think I said this in the last show. It's really incumbent on the press, particularly the New York Times, the Washington Post, publications that have investigative teams that can spend months and months interviewing and digging through documents and traveling to see people, to put together a story to finally answer what was Trump's role in this whole thing, and how involved was he? And I think that's the biggest question mark. I mean, obviously we want to know about some other people. We see Alan Dershowitz's name pop up, and he has, his story. But particularly, like I say, the bigger organizations, and even like ABC News and stuff, that have investigative teams that can spend months and months traveling around the world if necessary to put together a coherent narrative on what Trump's role is. And I'd like to see that,
Barb, did you have something to say? I think you might be muted.
Yeah,
Barb?
we can't hear Barb.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you. She's not.
Can't hear at all. That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. While we work on that, she may need to leave and then come back, because we can't hear you at all, Barb. So I don't know what's going on. It's funny. I think that as much as I would like to see a lot of this laid at the feet of Trump alone, I think what in years to come we may see was the tipping point is going to be a change in attitude about the super wealthy in this country. I think that people have finally had it up to here with sort of the billionaire class and their frolics and their crimes and the things that they do that nobody seems to say anything about. And I just wonder if we're talking about, after the Bezos wedding in Venice, where they took over, an international city for basically a week so that these two horrible people can get married for the second time. You see everybody has a camera now in their berating staff and so forth. And I feel like we might be approaching a point after something almost close to 50 years of talking about job creators and innovators and entrepreneurs and all this other stuff, where people are just going to start revolting against this, or at least distancing themselves from it. The election of Zoran Mamdani in New York City. I don't know if any of you guys read his inaugural speech, or portions of it, which were all over the news today. This guy is talking about working people, and he's talking about how essential they are and how we can't keep ignoring them. And, the reason that people are not having as many children is because nobody can afford it, because you need 2 incomes to keep a household afloat. And, we can't afford to have mom stay home the way we could in the 50s. It's just not happening anymore. I go out, I was running a lot of errands this week, and I can't believe how many people I saw who, how many door dashers kind of walk into not just a restaurant, but into any business now. They're picking, everybody's a gig worker now. And so I get the feeling that, with our healthcare premiums, with the loss of the enhanced subsidies starting this week, I just think there's going to be, and people are going to look at this Epstein file and they're going to say, look at all these people who knew. Look at all these people who saw teenagers walking in and out of this guy's house and never questioned it, who were on this island, who were on the plane, blah, blah, blah. And it just, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm ranting now, but I feel like that could be perhaps something that we can look forward to.
I mean, go ahead, Darci.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, the election was a tipping point, I think, as it relates to that messaging. And so I agree with you to a decent extent that, a good chunk of our base, we weren't having the conversation about the issues that matter to them the most. And so I think that wake-up call happened. And I think Mamdani shows, especially with the young people, how critical that is. And the people that previously, I guess, were kind of considered outliers are the ones that are, gaining in popularity, making the rounds nationally. And some of our old guard are feeling, I guess, some of the dismay and disillusionment. So I agree with you to a good extent, Nancy. I don't know that people are. I mean, we had the Occupy movement, right? How long ago was that? So that was the first time you really saw the messaging reach the top level. But I still think it's like what's going on with me personally, directly. I don't know if they'll fully connect the dots with like Epstein and some of these other things.
Right. Well, we'll hope. Barb, are you?
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
Right.
Yes.
I was gonna, what I was gonna say is I'm hoping that the women, the survivors of the abuse, who are ready to name names, and I really hope that they do it, and I hope that they're taken seriously, and I hope that they're covered. And the only thing that worries me is that I think we're close to burning out on that story. Because it's as it should be everywhere, but people are like, because closer to home, as you say, things are really bad, and they're about to get worse. And so, what does Trump do? He takes the tariff off of pasta. Yay, Italian pasta we can have again. It's comical.
The noodle is the basis of a great many working class meals, so that's fine.
Oh no, yeah. So I really hope I hope these women get justice of some kind.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't take Trump down, they deserve this. This is just such a horrible story. And
and the drip.
Every woman's got a story.
Yeah.
Every woman's got a story.
The drip could be erosion, but it could also boil down to overexposure, and people will just tune it out. So I think you're right. I think there's a point there. Okay, shall we move on? Let's see what other was some of the other big stories of the week here. There's those of you who get the New York Times in dead tree form will see in the magazine this week. It's been out online for days now. Marjorie Taylor Greene gives an interview to one of their political writers and explains her change of heart on Donald Trump and why she's resigning from Congress and so forth. And I feel as though I read it I don't 100% believe it. I will never trust Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she gives what I think sounds like a fairly credible explanation for why she's been the way she is and why she no longer is the way she, or why she claims to have changed her ways. She talks about falling out of lust, shall we say, with Donald Trump after the Charlie Kirk memorial service, which was more like a Trump rally in Arizona, where Trump stood up and he said, Charlie was a guy who always said he could forgive people and he didn't wish ill upon people. I'm not that way. I hate my enemies and I want them all to suffer. And she said, that was, for a woman who's trying to be more Christ-like, that was kind of a tipping point for her. But I don't know. I mean, Lauren Boebert now is irritated because Trump vetoed I think it was a water project in Colorado, which he said was approved on a 100% bipartisan basis. And he's got some beef with the native tribe that's out there. I don't know what it is, but is MAGA fracturing? Are these cracks serious, or is this just the inevitable result of what they call their big tent?
I think, like any autocratic fascist movement, splinters. I think with under its own weight, it's going to crumble, and because everybody's an absolutist and a purist. Theoretically, everybody's an ideologue. I think MAGA is failing. I mean, you have to look who's driving it now, and it's Stephen Miller. And I keep saying that because he may be the most vile or second most vile person on earth next to Trump. I'm not sure exactly which way you move these guys. But I think the more that he gets exposed, I just know it when I see it. The more that he gets exposed to the public, the more that it's going to splinter the public. It's going to splinter MAGA, and MAGA is fighting amongst itself. There's some who believe that vaccines are really decent. MAHA doesn't do so. I mean, it's an insane movement. We know that it's not based on anything. It's not based on fact. It's based on this, fictional alternate reality. And so I think when when it becomes real, and now the healthcare costs are tripling, my Medicare costs are going up. Shit hits the fan, and that's what's happening. And so people realize, my God, this isn't the utopian world that he promised me. I'm not getting $2,000. I'm not getting $5,000. Everything's going up. So yeah, I think they're splintering within the movement itself, obviously, but also within those who have embraced it are realizing this ain't doing much for me at all. There's wretched excess, like I think that's terrible. Trump reminds me of like Nero, and he just fiddling as we burn, and sooner or later the disparity gets too great, and there is
last week he was posting on his social network marble swatches for the new armrests at the Kennedy Center, unlike anything ever seen before. It's like
no princess swatches.
Exactly.
Lincoln like granite, but
Darci.
I was going to say that one of the things that she said in that interview was that she was naive, that she was embarrassed to say that what she didn't understand. I think I kind of take her at her word as far as that goes. And then she also talked about the death threats, which, to me, that's probably the tipping point for her, even though the hypocrisy of it all in terms of what kind of climate she created for others, notwithstanding. Right. So, I agree with Joel that, what everybody said, it's been the drip, drip, drip. I think all these people who aren't running for office again is a clear indication. And so, and there's not a part of his base that he grew numbers with that's not affected by his actions. Mm-hmm. So his numbers are down. So I think we are seeing that, but it is a long game, right? But I do think for the way the year ended showed that he is losing ground.
Yeah, I think so. Allan?
I think we saw the Tea Party, same thing. Tea Party was very powerful, very influential, and then it crumbled. I think, and the MAGA movement, who's headed by one of the meanest spirited people around, I think when you have that tone set, eventually mean people cannibalize each other, I think.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's corrosive. It just is.
Barb, did you have something to add?
No, not yet.
Okay, you sound like you maybe have this thing that's going around. So there you go.
I don't, but we were out late last night.
Oh. Okay. It's
I have the time, but
I saw something in one of those million newsletters that I get in the email that I can't seem to unsubscribe to, where somebody was asking. It was one of these things where they send out an email to media influencers and ask them what they got wrong in 2025. And one of them said that they thought that the Charlie Kirk assassination would be like the Reichstag fire that causes MAGA to go completely berserk. And it hasn't. It's become, Charlie Kirk has become a laughingstock online. If you, there are some hilarious memes going around about the widow Kirk and her,
grifted.
Yeah, exactly. It's like she's moved on to the next stage of grief, merch,
At wholesale.
Yeah, exactly. And she's, she comes out on stage a month after her husband's assassination in skin tight leather pants, with pyrotechnics going off. And it's like, there's a lot of people who are going to look at that and say, who are these freaks and why do they want my vote? So there you go. All right. I don't want to leave Trump entirely behind, but I think also we need to note the full-on rebellion against the renaming of the Kennedy Center has really, really taken off in the last couple of weeks, really. And it's not just ideological. I mean, there's a dance company apparently that is based at the Kennedy Center, and they say they're leaving because they can't sell tickets anymore. I mean, it's like, even if every single one of them was like super MAGA, it's like their subscription sales are down 40%. And it just doesn't make, the math ain't mathin', as we say these days. So, and that was such a Bush League,
oh my God,
Francisco Franco move at the, to add, we have the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, and then to add a line above and find out that the Washington Post reported that apparently the rules were changed so that quietly some weeks ago, so that only Trump appointed trustees of the Kennedy Center were allowed to vote on this.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's insane. And
you want to win, that's how you do it.
Exactly.
That's the greatest. That's just, oh my God. It's so sad. Just tiny little man.
I know. I think about all the Kennedy Centers, the Kennedy Center honors that we've had, and it's like it's always in December, right? So it's like we get through election season, let the debris settle, and then in December we can all come together and appreciate these wonderful artists that have won the the rainbow medal. And he had to fuck that up too. I mean, the idea of Sylvester Stallone and Kiss sitting up there, and he even changed the medal. I mean, they took the medal away, the medal commission away from the family that had been making them forever, and gave it to Tiffany. Oh boy, that's just what Tiffany needs, is like, another place to brand. And they have, and it's awful. And I think about all the great Kennedy Centers that we've been able, honors shows that we've been able to see in the last few years. Aretha singing Natural Woman to Carole King, while she weeps and Obama cries. And the thing that they did for Led Zeppelin, when they had like this choir doing Stairway to Heaven, it was a barn burner, and all they've got is like poor Gloria Gaynor out there with her one hit.
With Gloria Gaynor.
There actually an interesting little thing. Kid Rock, I don't know if you saw, I posted on Deadline Detroit. Kid Rock was golfing with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump showed him, I guess, a video of James Brown and Pavarotti singing "It's a Man's World," and it is pretty cool. That was the first cool thing that Trump has been affiliated with in this whole.
But that wasn't at the Kennedy Center, because James Brown has been dead for 20 years now.
No, that was like 2008. It was a fundraiser for Angola or something like that. Yeah. way back, but I'm just saying Trump Kid Rock just posted it on X and stuff. So when I bring it up, it's sort of a semi-segue for culture.
Okay, so we'll see that shithead sometime in the future at the Kennedy Center Honors.
No doubt.
Barb.
The Kennedy family has had a really bad week.
They've had a terrible
week. A really horrible week. To Tanya Schlossberg. It just is so sad because she seemed to be just such a wonderful person, a person that took her privilege seriously, and did a lot of things. And the country looks at Carolyn Kennedy, who has suffered more loss, public loss, than anybody should have to. And I think, and then here comes Orange Bobo, putting marble things on there, and it's so insulting. And you think of Jackie Kennedy and her mission to bring more culture to the United States and to the White House, because it really did start with the Kennedy administration, which is why they named the building after them.
Right.
Exactly. She had Pablo Casals. She had just amazing things, and here we are. And it will be Kid Rock soon. And I don't know if you guys know this, United Wholesale Mortgage, that giant company that's out there in Auburn Hills, 10,000 employees. A couple of years ago, they had this big annual Christmas party, and they bring in someone famous. They brought in Kid Rock, and Kid Rock was booed off the stage.
That's great.
They put a lid on that shit, and there was no story about it. But
that's their Christmas party where they give away, I don't know if they still do it, like Mercedes to certain employees and these magnificent trips everywhere. By the way, before we go to commercial, let me play one of these videos. We have 3.
Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Today, Donald Trump announced a major deal to drastically cut the price of Ozempic and other weight loss drugs. It's all part of his campaign promise and his one consistent principle of no fatties.
President, our estimate, based on the company numbers as well, is Americans will lose 135 billion pounds by the midterms.
Whoa! 135 billion pounds by the midterms. Why the midterms? Did they add a swimsuit competition to those? Look, I'm no mathematician, but 135 billion pounds divided by 340 million Americans means we each have to lose 400 pounds by the midterms.
I love this administration. They just take numbers and just so crazy.
We go into the commercial?
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
All right, back for the second half of the show. January 1 brings new taxes, generally speaking, and we've got a new fuel tax, a suspension of the sales tax on fuel, but now another fuel tax, presumably for roads. And then we also have, of course, that fearsome 24% marijuana tax. And I know that is going to really harsh some mellows around here. I insisted, we were coming home from an abortive run to Costco last night, and I didn't realize they actually closed on New Year's Day. And I insisted on taking the scenic route, and we went down 8 Mile Road, and I was noticing how many of the smaller dispensaries that I came to recognize in my travails on 8 Mile Road have been closing. And I think this is something that some of these small business owners worried about warned us about rather during the debate over this. And yet it passed and it's going to go forward. So I don't know.
All right.
Go ahead, Allan.
I think it's wrong to tax that high on an industry that is really struggling. It's oversaturated right now, and eventually, it'll even out. But for now, there are, as you say, I mean, you go Madison Heights, Berkeley,
Huntington Woods, they're all over the place. I mean, there's
Ferndale, Detroit now.
Yep.
And 11 in Coolidge.
Yeah, right. And you're seeing all these, and it's too much. I mean, in the beginning, there was one in Wall Lake. He was one of the only ones in Metro Detroit. He was doing phenomenal. I don't know how he's doing now, but there's to put a tax that high. I mean, and you know, the gasoline taxes, because they're eliminating the 6% tax. I mean, the gasoline tax is, I think, going up 34 cents or something like that.
Yep.
But because of the elimination of the 6% sales tax, the total net gain is going to be like a 1.5 cent increase.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're
Per
punishing
gallon.
You're punishing people who, you know, it's not a fair tax because it's not based on income. You know, everybody's being treated the same. Everybody isn't the same. So, you know, those who have less are going to have to do without. Somebody need marijuana for medical purposes, recreational purposes, whatever it is. But the poor get hit hard on these taxes. The middle class gets hit because it's the same tax for everybody, but we don't all have the same amounts of money to spend. You know, so I think any taxes like this, it's a sin tax, I guess. But they hurt people with little money, not people with a lot of money. And again, that is part of the policy problems that we have, is that we punish, I think, those who have little.
Darcy.
Well, and not only that, I mean, it is a struggling industry. The market is saturated. So what are they going to actually get? You know, it's not going to have the return that they are anticipating, right?
Mm-mm.
So we're still going to have some budget issues that we have to deal with down the line. So
Right. And as you know, part of the argument for legalizing cannabis in the first place was to get it out of the black market, right? Well, it's like that's not gonna happen. You know, people can. This is a plant that is very easy to grow, and unless you are the world's world champion weed user, 1 or 2 plants can supply you for a year, and you know, depending on the strain and how good of a gardener you are. And so, you know, people just start growing in their backyard, which is what they're doing now anyway.
Smokers are too lazy for that, though.
Yeah.
Oh, they are. Okay.
On the market. I mean, there's you know, there's plenty out there in the world. It's just because it is easy to make and cultivate. So
the strains that are being sold now, it's just too strong. I don't want to sound like an old lady, but it's like if they came out with a strain called 3 Beer Buzz, that would sell like hotcakes to my demographic.
Let me just say this. You should talk to your bud tender and tell them that, hey, I don't get high a lot. I want something low THC content, and they'll give you something that you'll actually enjoy. It could be an edible, it could be something to smoke. But I have found in my travails that the people behind the counter know more than I do.
For us, Joel.
I'll be happy to do it. You know, and again, I worked at Pine Knob in the late 70s, and every night we would clean the hill, and I'd find bags of weed.
Really?
Somehow, you know, what are you going to do? And it was just a great summer gig. And it reminds me that it's like it was plentiful then. It's now like incredibly plentiful now. So
It's always been.
I never thought we'd indulge.
When I was a janitor in Wilson Hall, one of my jobs was a Sunday morning at 8:30 in the morning, after, you know, partying all night, cleaning up the auditorium where they had the movies. And just littered with roaches, like the whole place. It was like, it's hard to get marijuana.
That was back when you could smoke in a movie theater. So, you know.
Those were beautiful days. Gummies are where it's at now. So,
well, but the problem with gummies is they last too long. And, you know, I don't know. It doesn't. Gummies don't do it for me. I am old school. I'm still going to want to like roll a joint and smoke it, or do a.
It just makes me.
Like
it's the ritual, man. It's the whole process.
It's like mixing a martini, right? You know, it's like
seed and the stems. It was college. I remember getting my Fragile Yes album out, I believe.
Oh my God, what a great album.
That's why we had those double LPs, are the ones that had like a fold out so that you could like, you know, you could clean it and it would all.
I remember
the traffic.
High school, there were people would sell bags of joints.
Yeah, right? Pre-rolls, right.
Right. And so we had this police officer come to our school and ask if anybody had ever had a joint. And he said, if I pass this apple around and everybody licked it, would you eat it? He said, well, that's what's happening when you're buying joints.
It's a damn good apple.
I said, so my smart alecky self said, but what if you roll your own? Way to go.
Well, okay.
And that is how Darci got kicked out of the dare class.
When I was on strike at Detroit News, I was a substitute teacher, Hazel Park High School, and one day in the middle of class, a kid pulls out a hash pipe, and I say, hey buddy, do me a favor, put that away. And I asked the class, I said, how many of you smoke weed? And like 85% said, raise their hand, and they said, what about you, teach? And I had mastered that. I said that would be wrong. And they go, because the first day of class, I was teaching a 9th grade class. This girl raised her hand. She goes, hey, teach, do you smoke? And I said, well, I used to smoke cigarettes. She goes, marijuana? And I said, and I wanted to be honest. I said, well, you figure it out. I went to college in the 70s. And then and so I had to refine my answer. The 5th hour, another kid raised his hand and said, hey, teach, you smoke the bud? And I go, what are you, a cop?
No, but I can spot a narc at 30 paces, and that's what you are.
Yeah. Right, that's exactly what's happening.
All right. Okay, let's move.
Question?
I'm
hey,
sorry,
Alan, somebody asked about the comments, so
you don't read our comments on this show. We do on the Detroit in Black and White. We read all the comments. But
we read all the comments.
I find this amusing. Gavin Newsom working on naming hazardous waste sites after Trump.
That's a great idea.
Right.
You know, I know a lot of progressives really dislike Gavin Newsom, but his trolling game is A1. And, you know, that's really all you need.
I love it.
There you go.
Humor's the best way to get them. I mean, it is laughable, you know, and pointed out as laughable is a really
he hates to be laughed at. That's why he hates.
He does. Exactly. Yeah. So you laugh at him, and that's. I mean, like all bullies.
Here's another.
So, considering how devoted to crime some of Magistan is, I would assume Trump has no choice but to denaturalize and deport everyone in MAGA as well. Or
January 6th, people. They're patriots in so many cases. These were people that actually love our country.
They were peaceful people. These were great people.
There has never been a group of people treated so harshly or unfairly in our country's history.
Really? No other group treated this harshly. I guess we've forgotten slavery and how Ellen treated her staff.
There we go. You just have to tell these January 6 people need to take some tips from Jews, because there's one population in the world that knows how to bloom where they are planted, no matter, even if everybody's stomping on their blossoms, it's got to be that. So, all right. Here's a story that I have to admit that I have not paid all that much attention to. Apparently, the Hamtramck mayoral election drama continues with an emergency appeal filed at the Supreme Court for this. So this, I have to say, it's not unusual. It's not rare, but it is unusual to get an election result that is as close as the one in Hamtramck. And then for them to find something like 30 ballots that had not had proper chain of custody, so they had to be thrown out in the recount. It just strikes me as it's such a shame. I mean, this might as well have been a tie. So, anybody?
I think it was 37 ballots. What happened is they were absentee ballots. They weren't found till the next day, and then, as you say, the chain of custody was lost. So the courts have ruled against counting it, and the difference, I think, is about 11 votes. So the person is supposed to be sworn in
yesterday,
and I don't know, did they get sworn in? I'm not even sure.
I do not know.
I know it's on appeal. They've asked the lower court, Wayne County Circuit, ruled against counting it. Then they appealed to the Court of Appeals, but then they said, fuck it, let's just go to the Supreme Court. They're asking for an emergency hearing on that. And so I don't know what's going to happen. It is a shame it's so close. And and there's 37 votes that the city screwed up on, and that could certainly make the difference. So.
Hamtramck has changed quite a lot since I first moved to this area, but I'm pleased that what I consider the best part of Hamtramck, which is the bars and the rock and roll scene, continues to do well. But I have every year at the Hamtramck Labor Day Festival, my husband comes home and he says, "I don't know if this place is going to last, if this festival is going to last another year." He said it's too offensive to, I think, the Muslim population in Hamtramck, but who knows? So, all right. Let's see. Let's move on. The Detroit Lions, of course, had some heartbreak late in their season. And of course, they are out of the playoffs, but they still have one more game to play. So come on, sports fans. Joel, Allan.
Every game matters. Campbell's going to have to play hard. Guys are playing for contracts. Guys are playing for other teams. In theory, they got some free agents.
Okay.
My guess is there's a lot of there's a rivalry with Ben Johnson now. That we beat the Bears the first game. We kind of schooled them the first game, and they're going to school us. So I think Ben Johnson's going to trounce the Lions.
Really?
I think the Lions going to get killed. Yeah, I just don't think they're playing well, and they're. It's been a bad season. They haven't played well. So I see the Bears are
and the Bears are having a great season. So
great season.
Yeah.
First place.
Allan.
Darci wanted to jump in there. Go ahead.
Oh, Darci, go ahead.
Well, let's acknowledge the level of injuries that the Lions have is just I think unparalleled for
massive.
Right? Massive. But there is a rivalry that existed before Ben Johnson with the Bears. So, I mean, they could play spoilers too. So I'm a ride or die. So I'm still saying go Lions for the V.
Okay.
I think, look, they're 8-8 right now. They want to.
Joel's dog. Hey, Joel's dog.
Well, I'm in California. It's my son's dog.
Oh, Joel's dog. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's a.
I thought you had gotten an Airbnb.
Put him on mute till we.
It's okay. You let the dog bark. It's okay. So.
Who let the dogs out?
It's like that commercial.
So, anyways, look, they're 8-8. They'd like to have a winning season, so they'd be 9-8, and also the Vikings are 8-8. So they'd like to, except for I think they'll have an easier schedule if they're in the last place in the division. But again, Ben Johnson was the coach, and there was always a debate whether the Lions were hurt by Ben Johnson leaving, but certainly he was entitled. Ben Johnson put in his time, did great things for the Lions, and he was entitled. He was ready. He should have actually left the year before, but they gave him such a great contract, and he wanted to see if they could take him to the Super Bowl. So it's going to – I have my issue, and Darci brings up about injuries. My issue is the NFL is doing everything it can to squeeze money out and injure these people. I mean, they should. If they really cared about the players, one, they would shorten the season. It's now 17 games before the playoffs. They should shorten it to 14. They should cut out the Thursday, except for Thanksgiving. You can't have a team. So a lot of these teams are playing Sunday, and suddenly they're playing Thursday. That's not enough time for their bodies to heal after getting the shit beat out of them. But the NFL just keeps piling on and more stuff. And I think if they want to have anyone left, it's heartbreaking every season now with the Lions. They're losing so many people, and
I think pro players. They lost their entire secondary.
Yeah, and their practices. I think maybe they should be limited to 4 days a week instead of 5 days. I think they're getting the shit beat out of them, and it's every game. Some of these guys are just running, and suddenly they come up limping, and they're torn this or that, and they're out for a whole year. So.
That was a good point. That's what the union, when they expanded the games, that's what the union was concerned about, that guys will get hurt, and you're really shortening careers significantly. And I think that's true. Especially if you do get into the playoffs, you have a run. That's a lot of football. I mean, the Lions have played a lot of football in the last 3 years. And every time you play, man, the risk goes up. And you're right. There's not enough recovery time. There's way too much expected. And it's the most violent fucking game in the world.
Do you think that because I have this on my bingo card, Dan Campbell moves on? Do you think he's hanging around?
Oh yeah,
I do. Yeah, he's staying.
Really? Okay.
You can lose it. It's okay. You can take a step back, and then 2 steps forward. I mean, that's the nature of sport. They had a big change. You lost both coordinators. I thought they were going to regress. They did. And I think next year they'll take 2 steps ahead. I think the culture's right. They have their core. Hopefully people heal well. But they got to figure out why everybody's getting hurt on this team, maybe more so than others, because they're losing. Fans
are so fickle. They chant, Jared Goff. He show up to a basketball or hockey game or something, Jared Goff. And then suddenly they're like, fuck Jared Goff. We need a new quarterback. Fuck Dan Campbell. I mean, it's just there's no loyalty in a lot of the fandom. It's like, you win for us. It's very transactional. You win, we love you. You don't win, fuck you.
Well, yes and no, because Lions fans are the most rabid, and they show up regardless. Unlike Tigers fans, when Tigers suck, those stands are empty. People stop showing up for real. Not with the Lions. The Lions fans show up consistently. Now, if you don't know the basics, I mean, if you don't have a line, it's the same thing that Matt Stafford, whether you hated him or not. But we had a line that you could run a truck through, and so with all the injuries, we're in pretty much the same position now. So it doesn't mean that we don't have a talented quarterback, but it means he doesn't have enough protection.
I agree. I mean, when they lost, this is going to be too much, but when they lost their center, Ragnow, he was an all-pro and the best center in football and really the glue of that line. When he left, that's a void that they couldn't fill. And then they lost both interior linemen. Yeah. So you really can't protect the quarterback. You can't open up holes to run. Right. It causes, they don't have they had a great line last year. They have a very mediocre to less this year.
And I think people don't realize, people say, a center, he just snaps the ball to the quarterback, which is a skill unto itself, as we saw the last game where the centers were hiking the ball and they were way off there. But also the center is sort of looking at what the formations of the defense and yelling stuff and really has to have really a sharp brain to be able to, see and be very quick. So that was a major loss, and they may not. I don't know if they're going to have a regular center again for this last game. Could be a killing, but I think Dan Campbell wants to win so badly against Ben Johnson as do the other players.
Oh yeah, they're going to play hard. They always play hard for the guy. They never give up.
Okay. Well, before we move on, I want to nerd out for a minute here and use my position as administrator to put a picture up on the screen. This thing the storm that hit before around New Year's, they called it the bomb cyclone, which was when it was 50 degrees and then suddenly it was 20 degrees and the wind was just howling out of the west with this incredible cold front. Well, those of you who know what a seiche is, I believe it's French for wave. A seiche is a meteorological phenomenon that pushes water out of a body of water, so that one end of it can be high and dry, and the other end, of course, could be flooding because essentially all this water has to go somewhere. Well, we had a seiche effect on Lake Erie during this thing, and it was the second significant one of the year, as I recall. I think there was one in the fall. But, in Buffalo, New York, it was high water. In Toledo, Ohio, it was no water. But I found this photograph on a Facebook page from the seiche in Lake Erie. That is, you can recognize the shape. It's a snowmobile. Yeah, it's a snowmobile covered with zebra mussels that obviously somebody lost through the ice back in. I mean, the water dropped something like 7 feet in the western basin of Lake Erie that somebody lost in a ferry.
That is great.
Drunk versus ice.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
Exactly.
Some guy went.
I thought it was a sea-doo.
That is beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Personal watercraft.
It really is. It is that is no. It could. Well, you know what? It could have been a sea-doo, but I don't think anybody would have lost their sea-doo in the bottom.
My husband used to ride. We're like,
you can see the skid in the back there. So anyway, I just wanted to. It's just So anyway, so all right.
You got one more video.
Let's show the video.
Funeral services fit for a president. Today's funeral service bringing together 5 living presidents: Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump, to honor Carter, the longest-lived commander-in-chief.
Wow, that is incredibly rare to have 5 American presidents in the same room together, and even rarer to have Donald and Melania in the same room together. Kudos to President Carter. And it seemed pretty uncomfortable that they all had to sit next to Donald Trump. Just think about the history there. Trump tried to put her in prison, accused him of murder, said he was the secret Muslim founder of ISIS, said she was pretending to be black, ended his entire family dynasty, almost got him murdered, tried to overthrow his presidency, and paid off a porn star behind her back.
Yes, that was from January with the death of course, President Carter. Oh, one other thing I did want to get into before we go to the last segment. We have something that I didn't think would ever happen happening in Detroit this week, which is the end of the joint operating agreement between the Detroit Free Press and the Detroit News. I thought this would, generally speaking, when that happens, it leads to the death of one of the two papers. But in this case, the Detroit News has said it is going to plant its flag and go off on its own and have a new Sunday print edition for the first time in 36 years. So I have to say, and I know that I'm a little biased on this because that's where my husband worked before he retired, but I have to say, go Detroit News. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the competition leads to, although I'm also aware that we have, the people who actually read newspapers anymore, at least in print form, are all my age or older. So, I mean, how do we feel about this? We got a couple journalists on this panel.
I mean, it's funny. I was at Myers on Jefferson one day, and it was a Saturday paper, not even the Sunday paper. And I said, oh, I'm going to, I haven't read a hard news paper in a long time. And I picked it up and I bought it. It was like, I think $3.30 for it. And it was so thin. Like you say, I don't know how many, there's still money to be made in print advertising. And so I think that it's got to be worth it for them. I wonder, one of the two sides, or maybe both, but I suspect one wanted to end the JOA, thinking they can knock the other one out. The Detroit News is owned by the same company that owns the Oakham Press and the
Macomb Daily. Yeah.
And so they have somewhat of a network already, but then, Gannett also has a network of different papers. And so we'll see how, it'd be great if they can last, if they can both, continue on in their ways. I think the Detroit News, they're both really, for what the very limited staff they have, they're both decent papers for what limitations they have.
Right.
I think the Detroit News is more aggressive. Overall, I think they're just a more aggressive. They have, you sense a little bit more urgency with them, but the Free Press has some real talents there as well. So hopefully, so.
Go ahead, Barb.
Well, they got rid of 90% of their staff. They don't. The Free Press is being printed in Ohio, and I think the News is going to be printed in Indiana now. And
I heard Chicago, but I could be wrong. So go ahead.
It might be, but and there's no more. All of that kind of work is gone, and so and it's all being farmed out for very, very cheap. So they have more. They lost that cost of doing business.
Right.
And and I'm bitter and angry.
You were part of that back.
I worked for the JOA.
Yeah, for the JOA.
You were in
the
that business
staff, right?
thing of it. And my job was eliminated 12 years ago. They sent my job to Iowa for someone that would be paid $10 an hour,
right,
to do it, and that's Gannett.
Yeah,
those were the little centers. So I haven't picked up a paper since the day I walked out. When they my last day at work was the last time I read a copy of it. When I started working there, the Sunday paper was that thick.
Wow.
You know, and there was so, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know where they're going to get the advertising. I don't know where two papers are going to. Yes, the JOA ruined both papers. So I mean, I'm very happy for the reporters that still work there, and I really genuinely wish them well. I still have friends there, and it's kind of heartbreaking, but I still think one of the papers have got to go. There is only so much advertising.
Right. And people ask why print, like when everything is read online nowadays. But it's like for advertisers, they like print. I mean, there is nothing on. I mean, people use blockers. They use all kinds of things to avoid advertising online, and that's their right if they want to. But it's just if you're an advertiser, you want your. Imagine those. Remember when sports departments were full of tire ads? It's like. The tires.
I used to make those. I mean, that was my job.
Yeah.
I did car ads and I did
topless
clubs and I did topless bars. On the day after September 11th, I was putting American flags on titty bar ads. We don't even have those. We didn't even have those anymore. But
I know now that's
what we did. And so when you see ridiculous colors and strange references in the ads, that's because they're done by somebody who's never set foot in Michigan, who's never been,
exactly. Darci.
Well, yeah. So just to add to that, I mean, the copy editing has suffered tremendously as a result of that being farmed out to Indianapolis, I believe, is the copy desk.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to work. They're both printed together in Canton. What does that mean? I mean, Ohio. I'm curious about that. And circulation drives how much you can charge for ads. And so their circulation is, I don't know, I think it's like 60,000 or something. I mean, it's pretty low. So I think there are plenty of journalists who are still doing great work. So I'm always going to be an optimist and have full. But I agree that I think if anything, it'll expedite a going from print to digital for at least one of them, meaning they no longer have the print edition, which, by the way, is the Atlanta Journal just ended their.
They did away with theirs. Yeah, they did. So I don't know. All right. I think
that's going to happen quicker than anything.
Yeah. Okay. Allan, let's go to the last segment.
Downtown Detroit, Robert Wells, Schmuck of the Week.
Oh, as usual, we have the guest usually goes first. So Darci, who you got?
I had trouble narrowing it down, so I'm going to do diarrhea of the mouth. So I'm going to say Jim Jordan for leaking to Jack Smith the report about his testimony saying that Trump caused January 6th.
On New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve. Pam Bondi posting a graph that actually showed Biden decreased drug use, drug overdoses. We're trying to credit Trump. And then I'll do my last one is Jim DeSana, who is in Michigan, who voted for the $645 million in budget cuts, not realizing that included taking $2 million away from a roof repair for a building named in his father's.
Sorry, Dad.
Oops. Those are my schmucks of the week.
Those are some good ones. We should have talked about Jack Smith because that was the Jack Smith testimony because there was not bombshells. It was stuff anybody with a brain already knew, but there was some stuff. It was nice to see it, stated plainly. So, All right, Barb.
I have three. I'll go quickly. Mike Rogers and his continual Trump sucking up to where he does not believe that things are more expensive, that the word affordability, he's following that whole line. It's like, please.
It's a con, right? Yeah. Think of how everything's wonderful. Yeah.
Right. Him. And I was going to say Jim Jordan, so I'll let you have that. That was a good one. But the CBS Evening News last night, I'm going to find that guy's name. Tony DeCopol?
Married to Katie Tur.
Oh, really? Oh, what a shock. Said last night on Too Many Stories, the press has missed the story because we've taken into account the perspective of advocates and not the average American. Or we put too much weight in the analysis of academics or elites and not enough on you. That changes now,
Right.
which means
Oh, yeah.
more experts.
Yeah.
The
Let's
news.
go ask some rando on the street what they think of eliminating vaccinations. So yeah.
Right. It's not just the news. It's going to be how we feel.
Yeah.
How do we feel? How are we angry? So yeah. So more CBS News and what's her name?
Oh, and to say something about CBS News. It's funny. There's stories out there. Some Jewish people are trying to say that Barry Weiss is getting grief because she's Jewish, because she's defended Israel, and it's total bullshit. It's like Barry Weiss came in when CBS, when the new owners, Paramount, were already suspect because they settled the 60-minute lawsuit as a bribe so they get their merger through. So then they bring in this woman who has no experience, and she kills this thing. It had nothing to do with her being Jewish. It has to do with the fact that she's perceived as a potential stooge for these people.
Mm-hmm.
She's acting like one.
Rightly or wrongly. You know?
As my old friend Jeff Borden would say, I wouldn't trust her on a one-car fatal. So
Wow. Good one.
I mean, I don't think she's ever covered a one-car fatal. You know, she went straight into opinion journalism, which is take it from somebody who spent 20 years in opinion journalism. It's a very different kettle of fish, shall we say. Joel.
I'm going to go with Nicki Minaj. Nicki met with Erica Kirk at like the Turning Point, something or other.
America Fest. Yeah, right.
And expressed her fealty to J.D. Vance and to apparently the MAGA movement. I can't get it.
Wow.
Miss Minaj is, from Trinidad and Tobago, I believe. I'm lost at this. Maybe Offset's got a federal prison sentence, I think. Maybe she's trying to work a pardon. I don't understand this because it's completely contrary to everything that Nicki Minaj. I never saw that happening. And so I think she's a schmuck for that. It can't be authentic. Can't be. I just can't believe that. And seeing her suck up to Erica Kirk was bizarre. So Nicki Minaj is kind of my schmuck. I was like, wow, never thought
Wow.
It's a good one.
And Trump.
Allan.
Mine is Matt Gaetz, who is now part of the MAGA press. And he shows up at the Pentagon, where he has signed an agreement saying that he won't publish anything that's not pre-approved by the Pentagon, which is like First Amendment. Moving on with Matt Gaetz, our pioneer.
From sleeping with 17-year-olds.
Right. I confirm that.
I mean, when you think about that he was nominated to be the Attorney General.
To Pete Hegseth, yeah, right.
A lot better, but a little better. She's still corrupt in her own way. But to imagine that guy being the Attorney General, it would have been entertaining.
Yeah, if nothing else. Yeah.
Crazy.
Disastrous, but entertaining. All right. I am going to go with, let's see. I have an app on my phone, which I think everybody who lives anywhere on the east side should have on their phone. It's called Ship Finder. And it's very entertaining when you're sitting in a waterfront bar or a restaurant or taking your bike ride along the river walk. When you see a freighter going by and you're like, what is that ship? You can pull out your phone and boot up the app, and any ship with a transponder on it anywhere in the world is you can see where it is. It's positioned. Oh. So a lot of people were looking at St. Bartholomew, the Caribbean island and playground for wealthy people. And they noticed that there were something like a dozen or more billionaire yachts that were pulled up and moored in the harbor in St. Bart's. And I have to give my schmuck of the week to the orcas who missed a perfect opportunity to do a true solid for the human race and failed to sink even one of them. So
it's because of SeaWorld. They're
still
even orcas have a price.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Like, that's gonna give me a headache to ram that fucking thing, and I don't think it's worth it. So there, live with it. You made these people. They're your problem now. So, all right. With that, I think it's time for us to wrap this up. We hope Saeed will be back in this chair because it is harder than it looks, and I am not very good at it. But
Thank you,
anyway,
Nancy.
from one
Did a
more
great job.
one more week of the week that was, thank you to the panel. Thank you, Darcy. Thank you, Barb. Thank you, Allan. Thank you, Joel. And Allan, what's our exit line?
Drive home safely.
There we go.
Happy New Year.
Next week. And